All right. It is Tuesday, August 18th. Screen share. He's not here yet, but maybe in 4 minutes. And so let us make this small and we can start. Is this the right one? All right. Are you having a good Tuesday so far?
No, I want it to be Friday.
Mine is an average.
It's an average day.
I have a video game.
Wait, why is it a good day for you, Eliza? Yeah, and Tuesday's kind of weird because it's like once we're even just through this like part of the day, then it kind of feels like we're approaching the middle of the week. You know, Wednesday it's got its own kind of thing going on. Chick-fil-A. That's exciting. Chick-fil-A. Who has a new video game to play? You did? Tony said.
I thought that you were talking about that video game. I mean, when I go home from school, I'm gonna be a million.
Be a million and what?
It's a Minecraft mini game thingy that I
Nice.
sold in my lessons.
Interesting. Nice.
When I get home, I can finish the go outside.
Oh, and one more.
That sounds good.
Enjoy outside.
Going to work
Yeah, like the
to
weather.
meet your friends.
Yes.
I am trying to Wait, this is frozen. I am speaking of like going outside. I'm trying to focus on like we have like 2 months of really really good weather. Arguably some of the best weather in Colorado. Though I'd say May and June is the best weather in this town, unless you want snow, which sometimes I do want snow. But yeah, like August and October are really chill, right? But then like by the end of October, it'll basically be winter. So I'm trying to like really savor every time I go outside before it starts to get cold. Like it's kind of cool when the season changes, but I want to enjoy the last of the summer, the Indian. Oh wait, that's probably an offensive term now. Indian summer, the dog days of summer. How about that? Okay. Yeah.
What is Cali?
Oh, that is someone or something.
Oh.
Yeah. Is that in the homework too?
Yeah, it's on number 2.
Are we doing it? Okay.
I think that is.
Okay. Well, now I want to look at. Is that what we're going to be looking at down here? It's not this one, is it, Jack?
No, it's
Okay.
the first one on
All right. Okay. So, first of all, let's review chapter 12. Yesterday we reviewed chapter 11, and today we'll do 12. So 11 was what kind of pronouns? What did we review yesterday? Yeah, personal pronouns. So like ego, mihi, or mei, meme, nos, nostrum, etc. Those are first person. We have two, tibi, etc. That those vestrum, etc. Those are second person. And then we have is, id, the third person ones that more often than not function demonstratively now for us nowadays. And we went through the vocabulary and it didn't seem too bad. Chapter 12 is the same thing. I'm almost positive did we start around chapter 12 at the beginning of last year? Weird. Okay. So this is what we like. I think we had gotten to it at the end of year 1, but then we obviously would have reviewed it at the beginning of last year as well. But yeah, you guys probably know perfect just fine. McKinley tipped his hand yesterday. There was at least one perfect tip that you had trouble translating it. So I know this is useful for at least some of us, maybe all of us, hopefully. The thing that's probably most tricky about it is the fact it's coming from the third principle part. That is like I guess the most difficult thing about it if we had to pick something, just because of that thing where the first 10 chapters, we weren't really paying attention to the other principal parts. Maybe Ben's not coming today, or maybe he comes right at 1 o'clock. I don't know. Maybe he didn't know. Maybe it's because I didn't tell him this is reoccurring now. Like this Zoom meeting is just going to happen every Monday through Thursday. So maybe he didn't know that. I think I did email him though. Oh well, it's being recorded. So maybe he'll watch this recording and see me having a full 3-minute digression about wondering if he's seconds before maybe he does. But anyway, so yeah, first 10 chapters we didn't pay attention to anything except the first 2. So that's why the first 3 sometimes are still slightly unrecognizable to us. Remember, the third principal part is already in the first person singular perfect tense form. So just like the first principal part is first person singular present tense, this one is first singular perfect. And you have to drop off that I to actually get the stem, what we call the perfect tense stem. So it's a mauve. So a lot of them end in B, the perfect tense stems. What's another letter a lot of them end in? You know? It's all the edgy letters. A lot of them end in what, pico or intelligo. They become pixie and intelexi, so X. And then some of them in the is it third or fourth conjugation specifically end in U. But they don't have to end in those letters. Okay, it can like technically kind of be anything. The very worst offender in terms of sometimes just looking like it's present tense is Vinny, or Vinio rather, venire, and then Waney, Wintum. Okay, because the only thing that differentiates this stem from the stem of the present tense is a macron over the E. So some of the endings are very distinct, right? So like none of our verbs before perfect tense ended in long I. That is very distinct. You see something that you can tell is a verb and it's ending in a long I, that's probably first person singular perfect. Okay, same with second person. That's super distinct. That isti, right? That isti is not really showing up anywhere else in terms of our word. But I realized in the first class I taught this in, which was my 8th grade people in their 3rd year, is that third person singular and first person plural, those, depending on what the stem is, can look virtually like their present tense, right? Like if it was venimus, you might have no idea that that is actually perfect tense because the only thing making it perfect is the macron. But that is the worst offender. Usually the stem is at least a little bit different than the stem you would get from the infinitive, the present infinitive. So those two are kind of nasty a little bit. Then istis goes back to something that is very distinct. It's just adding an S to the singular second person. And then this long one that looks like very distinct and different than the rest of them. That's pretty distinct. Now I'm overusing the word distinct. But yeah, so it's these guys are the baddest ones. And so you mostly just want to translate perfect tense as what? As I verb? Or yes, verb duh. Make sure you are saying the duh. And so it's not always ed. What was the example that came up? A lot of words actually don't get that ed ending in English when they're in the simple past. What was the one that came up? Yeah, ran. Good, exactly. So I run present tense versus I ran. It's not I ran. Is that what you're gonna say? Oh, nice. Yeah. So there's ones like that where it's not actually easy. So don't get like caught up on that and be like dogmatic about trying to fit an easy ending into it. Okay. So if you wanted to use a word that starts with H, what is that word? That's too fun. You can do that. You don't have to do that, Alex. Or has. So yeah, I have, you have, it has. Has is just the third person version of have. Yeah, you can say I have verbed, but like this year, I'm thinking going forward, I'm just gonna keep it simple and tell kids to like translate both the perfect and the blank tense as a verb. What is the other tense I'm referring to? Yeah. The imperfect too, actually. Why don't we just always translate both the imperfect and the perfect tense as verbs? Just keep it simple, right? So that's what this note says right here. Remember, both imperfect and perfect can be translated as verbed. And y'all know the imperfect, like the back of your hand, on spot, for all four conjugations, and that never changes. Now, imperfect can be translated as was verbing or used to verb, even kept verbing, because it's supposed to be something that's still happening, that started in the past, that's still happening. And there are instances where, like, the context makes it to where, like, it really is good to have one of these. But the vast majority of the time, it's kind of translated the same way you translate perfect, which is just verb. Have I confused anyone yet? That's all, like, you're all kind of like, yeah, I remember the perfect tense, but you're all got it.
I know how to get that.
Is that a Green Lantern comic book?
Yeah.
Cool. I feel like reading it. Some people really love Green Lantern stuff. The only DC stuff I've ever really read is like Batman and like a little bit of Superman or like Justice League stuff.
Well, Batman's cool, except it's complicated character. It's not like Superman is
And I like all the sidekicks. Like, there's like a crazy amount of like Robins and Batgirls and Batwoman and stuff, and like it's a good time. I was reading a Batman comic for a little while. I'm probably gonna drop it. X-Men comics are really the only ones I like reading, but Batman books are a good time.
I don't find X-Men all that interesting, but that's just based off of the movies.
No, you got to read. If you ever want to get into it, I'll tell you what graphic novels to do. What?
I read like the
Right. Yeah, they just had a bunch of variant covers for like X-Men stuff that had zombie, like Marvel zombie covers.
I like the Avengers. the eventually become like usually involves Thanos, and I find Thanos very interesting character.
Cool. Yeah. I like X-Men are a little better for me than Justice League or Avengers because they have this like social stigma. People think mutants are like bad in the way that they don't think superheroes are bad. Anyway, back to Aladdin. Okay, so but perfect. It's not just perfect tense, right? We also have two buddies for perfect tense. That is the blue perfect and the future perfect. Future perfect basically never shows up at all. Blue perfect does show up though. Blue perfect is easier to identify and form than perfect because it's a little more regular. It's getting the imperfect form of what verb, people? Yes, soon essay. Yeah, soon essay. So like soon as est, soon as est is soon. Very irregular verb. And the imperfect is eram, erat, erat, etc. I was, you were, it was. So we take those, we stick them onto the end of the perfect stem of the verb, and we get these blue perfect forms. So whereas if you want to use have or has with perfect, you have to use had with blue perfect. I feel like that was a confusing sentence. But yeah, I had verb, you had verb, it had verb. Blue perfect is the furthest back in the past that a verb's action takes place. So it's happening even before a perfect tense verb happens. And then future perfect is we use the future tense forms of soon essay. You know, arrow, eris, or writ, I will, you will, it will. And those are I will have. So with future perfect, they're very easy to translate. You just have to have two helping verbs in the mix. Yep. Any questions on that? Y'all know the perfect tense verbs perfectly? Well, McKinley, you were the one who kind of worried me yesterday not to put you on the spot, but like, do you actually think you kind of get it? Some of my 8th graders are like, I still don't totally get it. And they had a lot of trouble with it last year. Like, they had it all of last year, and deep into the year, they would still kind of like not get it. Like I said, I think the thing that throws people, oh, did y'all see I added a little squeezed in there, but it's there.
What happens if we get like 6 or not? I don't remember.
No, it's only 5. Only 5.
Oh, that's good.
That's all.
During spring, I really didn't pay attention. I don't know if it's hard to.
I know it was hard to. But yeah, so the endings are mostly distinct. Like I said, these two are the ones that aren't. The problem is the perfect tense. But how do you translate perfect tense quickly? One more time.
You are verb.
Not you are verb. That's passive. Typical passive.
I was verb.
Don't add a helping verb. No helping verb. You don't even need have. Just say, so McKinley verbed, I verbed, you verb. It's just verb. If you want to use a helping verb, the helping verb is have or has. We do not use been. Because if you say I have been verbed, now you're talking about passive voice, which we'll probably review next week, towards the end of next week. But y'all got passive voice over the break, huh? Yeah, that's bad. Y'all probably really don't get passive voice. All right, but you probably mostly get perfect tense. Okay, this is something that actually goes with the chapter. So we're jumping from chapter 12 all the way up to chapter 23, the one we're on now. I gave y'all almost all the grammar summary yesterday, but this is important. Some of you probably would want to write your notes. It is in the textbook, but I'm simplifying it here. And that is what I am calling the sliding tense of participles. So remember, participles, to jump back a little bit, are, where are they? I don't know how long this is. Get a bad idea. Those are the participles. That is the part that's in the textbook. It would be a bad idea for you to have in your notebook as well. And they are verbal adjectives. And they have their own tense, obviously, right? They're either present, active, perfect, passive, or future active or passive. But that tense is actually relative to the main verb of the sentence. And if you actually followed that, congratulations. But we'll look at an example that'll make it kind of way more simple. So let's just look at that sentence that we already translated yesterday. Patrem in casa videntes, well everywhere at eum supererunt. Seeing the father in the house, the boy and the girl ran to him. So what kind of participle is videntes again, anyone? Right. Not perfect. Yeah, it's present active. That's why it's like seeing the father. And so the NT is the thing that gives it away, or in S if it had been modified in nominative. And so it is present active. But think about this sentence. Okay? They ran to him already, like in the past. And so, is that happening in the present? What is the tense of kukureirons again? It's perfect. It's from kuro, kurura, kukuri. So as soon as it gets that like added syllable, like that doubled up syllable on the left side, that's when it's perfect. So that's why it's ran, right? Because they have run. Because they have run, I'll stop doing that. But I'm gonna keep asking about this. I'm gonna do that with everybody. I thought like you're gonna mess up on one thing once, so I'll be like, okay, I'm always gonna ask Eliza about participle or present. But anyway, well then we'll keep. That's more reason to keep working on it. But yeah, so this is all just to say that this is perfect tense. So that's actually going to affect the tense of within. Now, I don't want to put too much of a spotlight on this thing because it might be more complicated. It might be something that you shouldn't really think of and it wouldn't really come up too much. But a present participle is contemporaneous with the tense of the main verb, meaning it happens at the same time. That's all contemporaneous means. That's in the textbook. That's means that word. But so that actually means, even though this is technically on its own present active, it's actually happening at the same time as a verb that already happened in the past. So that might come up. It might not. It might just confuse you a little bit. Don't dwell on it too much, but it is something that you're supposed to notice. So if it is a perfect participle, so like say, what if it was, well, I probably can't think of a good example off the top of my head. Instead of seeing the father, how about like, no, I can't think of one. Like, can you think of a perfect passive participle we could put that? We have to apply it to like the kid. How about? Oh, I can't think of one. No, because so the subject is well and aware, so we want it to be a passive participle that's modifying the boy and the girl. But like something like loved by the father, like amati ab hot the hotshra, ablative of agent. Like loved by the no, that doesn't. That's a weird sentence too. Anyway, we'll see an example eventually. A perfect participle is actually happening prior to the time of the verb. So if the verb was perfect, like in this case, we'd actually treat a perfect participle as what? If we had to make it be one time before the perfect tense, what tense would that be? One, not perfect. It'd be pluperfect. Is that what you said? Yeah. Yeah, it'd be pluperfect. So remember, it goes plu, then perfect, then imperfect time in between, and then present. I know this is confusing. We'll see examples of all this eventually. And then future participle is actually subsequent to that of the verb, meaning time after. So again, this might come up a little bit, but I just needed to introduce that to finish up the grammar for this chapter before we get into the part of the class where we're really just applying it and actually doing translations, which we're going to do in just a few minutes. But first, let's actually look at the vocab for chapter 20. No, it's chapter 12, right? So that perfect tense stuff was the grammar for chapter 12. And the vocabulary for that chapter was actually really easy, I think, because at the time that was a very complex grammar. And so they gave us easy stuff. Okay, yeah. So now this time y'all really do get to ask Ben next class why he wasn't in the class. All right. Well, his excuse is like, I didn't know he had one, but like I think I even like emailed him or his mom or something. But anyway, he's gonna be hearing this, so Ben, it's cool. I forgive you. It's fine, Ben. Don't worry about it. It's we're all learning. All right, what is adolescence? Allie? Yeah, youth. So we get adolescent from it, not adults. Okay. Honest, Ani. Yeah, I guess we can probably just say these out loud, but then I'll ask maybe specific questions about them. So year, we get what word from it? Yeah, annual. What declension is it, Isaiah? Yeah, this is good on second. Asia is. It is Asia. Pretty tricky. It's not. Well, we always see nouns in the nominative. What declension is it, then? Yeah. The Romans decided that Asia was the first declension word.
Caesar.
Yeah, Kaiser Caesaris. What declension is that, Anna? Not first. Yeah, it's actually third. Yeah. You might think that's like an irregular nominative or something, but remember for third, you actually look at the genitive to clarify. Mater, matris is mother. So we must have gotten, is third declension chapter 10? I think so, because they're still giving us a bunch of like basic third declension nouns at this point. Medicus, medici is.
Oh wait, doctor.
Yeah, doctor. And it can be masculine or feminine. So it can show up in the first declension as well, medica, medici. Pater, patris? Yes. Patientia, patientiae? Like patient, like a patient being treated by a doctor? Or what did you say? But it's not an adjective. So yeah, it's patience. It could also be suffering, apparently, which is obviously a very different concept in the modern world than patience, but maybe they are related. I don't know.
Well, if you're a patient, you're in the world, they're probably just put it holding you down with a strap around your mouth while they're moving your leg.
Oh, okay. And it's like that term long suffering, meaning like a person who's like patiently just kind of like putting up with something that's difficult, I guess. All right.
Coming up with the Marvel Direction and the Baby franchise.
What's their new one? I thought the newer ones were the best. Anyway, McKinley, we'll get to it. But Principium Principii.
Oh, we're beginning.
The beginning, yeah. We obviously get principle and prince from it. But if you think of a principle or kind of a prince in monarchical time, kind of, they're like at the beginning of the chain of command. A chain of command. Aceribus, acerba. Yeah, bitter or harsh. What part of speech is this, Eliza? What do you think? Oh, like if it's a noun, verb, adjective, adverb, preposition, article, particle, onomatopoeia, interjection. Yeah, it's not. Maybe. Well, what is it? No, yeah, I don't think it does count as part of speech. But particles count. And particles, I can't really even explain them if I wanted to. But this is a what? Anyone out loud? It's an adjective. So remember, Liza, we haven't focused on adjectives in a while. But
Now I see it.
right, so it has the three genders in first. So it's the first and second declension adjective. Third declension adjectives only have two in these most of the time. Pro. Not.
Before.
So like, okay, so someone said before, like 3 classes ago, and I was like, no, actually, you're thinking of ante. But it actually can be before. This person just wrote before. That's going to be pretty rare, though. This is more often what? Anyone? Yeah. So more often for or on account of.
On account of.
Because it's like when people say pros and cons. Cons as in contra, people who are like reasons to be against something. Pro as in reasons to be for or on account of something. But it can be before, very rarely. Usually, no, so it means before as in front of. It doesn't mean before as in like a temporal thing, like ante, how ante means before versus post meaning after. It means before as in a spatial thing. So like someone who's before something, or like this person comes before Rome to me, or something like that. Would be an example. We probably find the book. So yeah, what part of speech is this, McKinley?
Second particle.
Not a verb. I'll switch back to the Latin.
Sorry. That's a verb. No, that's a noun.
No, we did review them on like day 2. Y'all seemed very bored when I was reviewing this. We have 2 types of these. Some that take an ablative case, some that take an accusative case. For the P, it is a yeah, it's a preposition. Yeah, so we got this preposition back in chapter 12. We've since gotten like numerous prepositions since then. Okay, we got 5 more to go. Do you?
Oh, while. No, when.
No, what are you thinking with while? Not when. Anyone? This one's kind of hard. This is the one, because I'm also reviewing chapter 12, the same chapters you guys were reviewing with the 8th graders, Latin 3 kids, and they didn't, this was one of the first ones they got stumped on too. It means for a long time. It's an adverb. It's usually modifying a verb, telling us like how long a verb is kind of like taking place for. New pair, another adverb. I'm going to tell you. I bet y'all are also going to not know this So since I'm doing so well with these are like the ones we do get to that y'all don't know, since there's only 3 more, I would probably write those down. Might as well. Like, Nupair means not a long time ago, like DU, but yeah. So I guess that is kind of the opposite of DU. DU is kind of, not really. DU is about like a duration. Nupair is I don't know how frequent something is happening. Recently, yeah, recently it's an adverb. Okay, 3 more. Oh, we got verbs. Amito, didn't we see Mito yesterday? Yeah, and also it's kind of a little more like lose, to lose or to let go. So Mito is like to send on purpose. Amito is kind of like to lose in a way that implies more like something negative or like it's an accident or something. Kado Katara. This hasn't come up enough for us to like know it really well, or it hasn't yet. Yeah, to fall, or even more essentially, the Strong's version of this means to die, which is more commonly morior, a deponent verb that is irregular, but this can actually mean to die, weirdly. And look how weird, look at that perfect stem, that's pretty crazy. So if it means to fall, this will be the last time I do this for the day, McKinley. How would I translate the third principal part, which is perfect tense, if this means to fall or to die?
I died.
Yeah, I died is fine, actually. I died, or I have fallen, or I have died. Yes, because we need to make it simple past. I fell.
I fell.
Wait, what did you say?
I said I died.
Yeah, I died, or I fell. Yeah. If you don't want to say I have fallen, you just say I fell instead of I falled. I falled. Creo creare? Yeah, that one's easy. And nice work, guys. Nice work. Oh, what? Where did that come from? You just got pop culture references just coming out of nowhere, which is cool. But what made you think of Halo? Yeah. Oh no, we do have an umquam. Like, I'm not saying it's not a typo, but numquam is never. Umquam is what happens when you take the N away from never. Ever, yeah. So just like, what's the other example of that? Not net. Yeah. Anyway, I feel like there's another word like that where it's kind of there's a weird
So
parallel.
that was whoever sang that song never ever been back together. That word.
Yeah. All right.
The worst song in the business to make me want to my ears want to bleed.
Yeah. You should. Yeah, I'm not a huge Kiko fan. She's not the worst, but she's not the best.
Not like one good song, but
There's always one. When they've been around for that long, there's got to be like at least one. Isaiah, go ahead and read number 1 in Latin. Good, yeah. So these are the extractationes in chapter 23. You guys are doing the lectiones for homework. But we're going to work through some of these when we have enough time this week. And then we'll get to some of the stories we have in the back. Oh, yeah. Next week we'll have a 38 story. Wow. And probably a Cicero.
please be sick. No, I think I want to do more about Hercules.
No, it's either Julius Caesar or Cicero. We're going to read a lot of Julius Caesar and Cicero.
But Cicero is boring.
You haven't really read any Julius Caesar. You read Cicero, but you've not read Julius Caesar. He's always talking about war. And sometimes it gets a little dry because he's just talking about like building siege engines and like digging trenches. But Gallic War is actually fascinating. And we're trying to read as much of Gallic War as we possibly can.
I read 4 people when they walked out. That guy was.
Okay, so aliquid numquam anti auditum in hoc re publica nerno. This is going to be vocab heavy for you guys. I feel like you're going to be just barely keeping up with the vocab that you're brushing up on, almost more so than the grammar. But we can do both. So aliquid, I already told Jack, it shows up in your homework. Apparently it means what? Yeah, someone or something. Numquam means never. Anti means before. Good. What part of speech is anti? Yes, it takes a what? Yeah, very good. Which is interesting. Auditum. What is auditum? Jack? Oh, interesting. Let's see. Here, maybe? Yeah. So I think the I is indicating. Yeah. Okay, because actually to dare is irregular. To dare is audeo. dairy, and then alsus sum. There actually is no weird. There's no third principal part, but so we could use this. But anyway, it looks very different. So yeah, that's actually like having dared to do something. Like I dared to do something. This, like you and Allie, realize is from audio audio ire fourth, and then it is audii auditum. I'm not going to even write it because like, that's literally the fourth principal part. It's important that they put it in what appears to be a neuter or masculine accusative or neuter nominative maybe, but that's actually just how it would show up in the fourth principal part most of the time. Or some books write it audi plus like they treat it like a first and second intention adjective. But anyway, it's a what tense participle? Jack said it's a participle, but what tense is it? Present active, perfect passive, or future active or passive? Okay. Yeah, it is perfect passive. This is the PPP. It's perfect passive participle. Remember, what declension do present active ones have, or belong to rather? Present active, like we have the agens, agentis, agenti, agentum, agenti. What declension was that? I need my chart out. Yeah, I'll probably write a chart in the corner of that screen or something, that whiteboard. But yeah, so third. So present active on the third. Perfect passive, though, are just taking the fourth principal part, whereas present active actually takes the second principal part and makes it into like a weird third declension noun adjective type thing. The perfect passive participles take the fourth principal part and treat them as though they are first and second declension adjective. Okay, in hoc re publica. Who can just give me what in hoc re publica is? That part we should still kind of knock that out and not worry about it. Come back to it. McKinley, what's in hoc re publica? Not Great Republic, but just in the Kaikak? Close. Not quite those, but just. Yeah, in this republic, or the state. You can also just translate republic as state. And then does anyone know Kernera? Third conjugation, I believe. What if we put a dis in front of that? Yeah, discern. Or distinguish. So this is a verb meaning discern, distinguish. And this isn't a spoiler because we should all be able to look at it and be like, oh, that's just good old first person singular present tense. You gotta love that. So let's start to put this together. What do we think Aliquid is doing? Subject. Well, what person is our verb? Person is that subject? Right. So the subject is I. So this can't be the subject. This is a weird indefinite pronoun, which I don't think they've given us any for that. But it's similar to, it's kind of like Quick Like Quad. But a lot of things that could be the subject also could sometimes be at the same time the what? Yeah, there is often a pattern with that. But that is kind of weird. I'm almost positive they haven't given you all the definitions for this indefinite pronoun. I like this all good. But just using context, we can kind of be like, well, it must be a direct object or something, since the book hasn't even taken the time to like tell us about that pronoun, and we know the subject is I, so it can't be the subject. Like, what else could it really be? Yeah. So let's say that's the direct object, and then is it I discern someone or something, or am I missing something? Well, we get to answer. Yeah, we definitely need to handle this whole thing, whatever's going on with this. That's going to be, that's the chapter 23 part of the sentence. But let's just, how do we start the transition? What? Close, but what about non-quam? That's all I'm really trying to get at. Yeah, so I never discern someone or something anti-auditum. Before. Good. Before it's heard. Good. No. Yes. Good. Perfect passive participle. Well, okay. It's passive. So does that mean that it's modifying the subject I, like before I've been heard? The way I took this is that I was modifying aliquid when I first looked at this.
So it could be like something like I always think about what I say before I say it, and it's like I always discern. I never discern something before it has been heard.
Before it has been heard. So it's modifying aliquid. Yeah. So it's simultaneously the object of ante and modifying aliquid. Sorry, I'll be honest. I'm a little rusty to make teaching. So I'm not prepping good enough or something. But let's for now say that it's modifying aliquid. Okay, it does have this neuter ending. It's accusative, so that it's the object of ante. For some reason, I feel like it should be modifying the subject. So let's hold that thought, and that'll be the first thing I talk about in the morning tomorrow, or at the beginning of class. It's not the morning. Interesting. All right, cool. Good job, Mr. Connell. Who wants to read number 2 in Latin? There's nothing weird about number 2.
Is there nothing weird about number 2?
There's nothing weird about it.
All right.
Yeah, in Latin.
All right. You or foreign and maybe not see serum and human valorem at non-admitted.
Yes, Obulus is good. Okay, this looks like there's a lot going on, but it's actually not too bad. It's yeah. What do we think those first couple words are, man? I should have to guess about phylum or forum. Not quite this, but more like that word for. And how do you think they're functioning? Let's see, not quite the subject, because let's see, illum. Yet neither of those could really be nominative. But what could they more likely be? Yeah. So it looks like it's one of those where we'll start with the direct object. Was I using red for direct object? Bring back the colors, I guess, a little bit. And then in what's the next noun phrase that is Ellie? The whole noun phrase that comes up next. Are you skipping over any nouns at all before you get to? Oh, but you think Patentum, Finim, or Warm really good? Maybe. Patentum does look like it has the same meaning as Finim. That might be misleading. But what's a noun phrase you might have skipped over? Good. And so your instinct is that those go together because why exactly? Like, why did you kind of know those must go together beyond I kind of leaded you to that? Yeah, you're seeing those macrons, and they're next to a preposition. That must just be an ablative of what? Finite is a thing, and it's a people, but it's also a ablative of place where. Yeah, ablative of place from and ablative of place where. Well, why just a place where something's happening? Then iterum, do you remember iterum? Close, kind of. We get the word iterate and reiterate from it. So maybe when one thing is happening a second time, it's happening again. Okay, so that's just an adverb. And then patentum, what is going on with patentum? You guys probably don't remember the verb it's coming from. Petera, petitum, it means to what? Do you remember that? Not to try. Let me write it out because this one's weird. You have to probably write this in your notes. Is it what? No, it's a verb. And it means to seek. To seek or to aim. Okay, it's chapter 22. So you would have gotten it right at the end of the online portion. It would have been sometime in May. So yeah, we know what the online portion of this class was like. Y'all hopefully absorb some of that information, but maybe not all of it. But yeah, so it means to seek. But anyway, so what is it though? Because like it's coming from this verb, so what's going on? What's this ending that we have? Is this the chapter 23 part of the sentence, maybe? Alex? Yeah. Is it present active, perfect passive, or one of the future ones? There's a sequence of 2 letters that tell us exactly which one it is. Yeah, good. And it's the NT. Remember what I said about how I remember present active by thinking of the word present? Uh-oh, guys, I gotta wake up and go to school. Sorry. Why is that weird? I wonder what that was for.
My alarm on the beep, 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 beep.
Isn't it weird how you hear your alarm sound out of context? If you're
Mine's morning, I was about talking last night, and I had it sound like the other morning, so I could wake up and something like that.
Yeah.
And then it turned on this morning, like 6:30, but it was blaring. And it was like, wow.
That's a fun way to live. And now whenever you do the weather, you might get a
But I don't want to, I like to wake up with my body. Not some dumb alarm clock like my
Sure, but routines are nice. Routines are actually a good thing. Liza, did you have a question or not anymore? Okay. Are y'all busy doing your homework?
No.
Is that homework due tomorrow or Thursday?
Tomorrow.
Exactly. You're right. It is due tomorrow, not Thursday. Okay, perfect. All right. We'll check the homework. We'll get more practice. But so patentum. It is a present active. So I think I see that NT or an NS, which it won't work for that if it's nominative. But if I see the NT, I think a present active participle. And what is like the English ending of the way we're probably most likely to translate present active participle? Yeah, good. ING. It's like taking a verb. Like it's really this one is the closest to still being a verb, but it's still kind of trying to do some kind of adjective-ish thing. So patentum. So what might we translate that as? Just in a vacuum without knowing how our thing is in a sentence. How might we take patentum? Anyone?
Yeah.
Maybe just seeking. Yeah. Okay. Finem bellorum. What do we do with finem bellorum? What is finem? Is that a new word? Do y'all not know that? Close, really close. It's kind of the end of, or probably can sometimes in some contexts be the end. It's more like the limit. And then bellorum must be what? Some what word? Yeah, in what case is it? Yeah, genitive plural, right? Okay, so, and what is our actual predicate, Anna? Not scalarum. That's scalaris, or scalus scalaris, which is a noun that means like wickedness or wicked deeds. What else? Could be the verb. Yes, non-audioistus. Okay, which is what tense? McKinley, even if you don't know what this verb means, what tense is it? Second person. Yep. Oh well, but what tense is it? Present, imperfect, future. Perfect, future perfect, or pluperfect. So the ending is all of this. It's istus. And this letter is also kind of a tip off in a way. And it is Jack. Perfect second person. Perfect. McKinley, I promise I'll ask you about other things, but for today, if I'm asking you something, because it's a perfect tense. So it's perfect tense, okay? That istus is really distinct. Okay? It's showing up here, and then it's showing up here. This is the singular version, this is the plural version. Those don't look anything like any of the other verbs. So it should stand out to us. What does iuare mean? It's a verb we never touch. It's like in chapter 4, I think. It just like never comes up, Jack. Yeah, to help or to aid. So who can start this guy off? Jack. Scalarium you won't get to it till the very end, but that's like wickedness or wicked deeds.
And so I know.
Yeah, you're kind of treating it like this like it's its own clause. But this predicate applies to the whole sentence. This is all just one clause. With like, I guess there's kind of like a little, this isn't even a clause. I don't know what the word for that would be, but act scalarum is kind of like an additional, it's kind of compound to finem bellorum. But we should probably take other parts of it first. So Just starting with non-audioistus, what do we have?
Y'all will not help.
Yeah, or not y'all, not
No,
will.
not.
Yeah, y'all or you all have not helped what?
These
Not these orders,
this
not this order. Remember, hic is this and these.
that.
Yeah, that. So that order.
In
Yeah. Again, for some reason, they just wanted to throw an extra adverb in there. Petitum,
seeing,
and it's seek, right? Seeking.
seeking.
Seeking, and it's gonna get its own object, which is weird. We basically have a participial phrase, is what's this called. So that order, seeking, what did I say this meant? I did predict this would be mostly a vocabulary day, almost more than a grammar day. Seeking the of war and so wickedness. Yeah, very good. So it's a kind of clunky sentence. We might come back to these and talk about them more. We need to focus on what participles are modifying. In this case, it's modifying that order. But yeah, that part can be tricky. Okay, let's see. We only have 3 minutes. Did Ben ever show up? Should we do number 3, or do y'all want to do your homework one? You want to work on your homework one, or do number 3?
I forgot.
Okay. Well, you don't need a textbook for it. It's a.
I need it for the words. For the grammar, I got it. I forgot my dictionary. I do have it in my lap.
Help me remember things. Let's do it real quick. Just kind of like, oh yeah, remember that thing I would do? Maybe less so in y'all's class, but I would just like point at the word that you needed to take. These don't look like they're going together, but guess what? They are, because this is fourth declension. It means what?
Certified.
Yep. What kind of fruits? Yeah, so this can be nominative plural. Remember that long US can be nominative plural, genitive singular, or accusative plural. It's that, or that. So it's not Palka, but what case is it? Pax Pacus. Okay.
Our desire.
Not our desired, but
Oh, will be. No, happen.
or were. It's imperfect. This is a passive verb. Were desired.
By, terrible.
Not terrible, but this is from Tereo Tereri. It is a PPP. Not terrifying. That would be a present active. That'd be like Sharin. Yep, terrified. Vulgus. Do you remember vulgus? Yeah, common people, or like the rabble. So by the. This is just a conjunction. It means like and so. Yeah, so he's saying like certain fruits of peace are desired by the common people and also the Senate, because the Senate likes to appeal to the rabble, to the common people, just as much as they like to appeal to themselves. Because the Senate represents the people in a way. Yeah, it does. Number 4. How are we going to treat this qui if it's right next to something that agrees with it in case number, gender, and this is a question? It's going to be nice. Yeah, so it's not going to be who, because this is an interrogative adjective. So, Allie, what did you say? And not just any man, but which. Great man will liberate the other kinds or clans
from those
from grave. What is this? Starts with F. From fear of. Yeah. Okay, guys, we'll check that homework tomorrow, and I will talk about number 1 first thing tomorrow, because that one was a little weird, I guess. All right, thank you guys, and maybe ask Ben if he knew that there was a thing. You don't have to yell at him, but just ask him. Tell him there's always going to be a thing, except for Friday, because Friday we're on assembly schedule, so it'll happen at a different time. Anyway, yeah, y'all can go.
They make everything 1,000 times better.
Oh, actually, it's basically the same time. It's just like it starts 20 minutes early, so like you could be like a little late to Friday's class. Quiz and Jeopardy. Yes.